Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Sam, and we're bad at watching movies.
But we're good at playing basketball, doing terrible accents, and being American. Okay.
She doesn't sweat at all.
Welcome to LA, baby.
Are you kidding me?
Are we bad at watching movies?
In this episode, we'll be discussing the 2001 Disney Channel original movie, Luck of the Irish.
Here at Bad at Watching Movies, we watch some of our favorite movies, good or bad. We talk about everything from scenes to characters, and we always have something to laugh about.
The summary for this movie from IMDb is a teenager must battle for a gold charm to keep his family from being controlled by an evil leprechaun.
Ooh,
That is
sounds like a
weird
good
way of
one.
summing this up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to kind of go over some of the key characters before we get started, the main character is Kyle Johnson, played by Ryan Merriman. He's been in some stuff. I know him from this movie,
Yeah.
I think mostly, but I think he's still going as acting. I think I saw he was also a producer.
Yeah,
so
he
he's
was
still
very,
doing
like,
stuff.
Disney Channel kid. I swear he's in another one of these. And
Probably.
Then, like, some ABC Family stuff, which
Yeah.
is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Next character is Riley O'Reilly.
Mhm.
What a name.
Mhm.
He is... I don't want to get too much into him, I guess, without revealing all about him. But
No.
he is a character. He is played by Henry Gibson.
Mhm.
He is quite old.
Yes. Has he been in anything else that we know of?
Not that I know.
Okay.
Of. Actually, I'll go back and we'll confirm this. I'm actually pretty sure he is in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. And I know I said that about someone else, but people are always in that show.
A lot of people are in that show.
They're in that show.
Yeah. The next character is Bonnie Lopez. She is just a friend of Kyle. She is played by Alexis Lopez. She has been in stuff too, probably in the same Disney Channel world, ABC Family, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She looks familiar, but I don't know if it's because I've seen this movie 1,000 times or if like she's actually in other stuff.
Maybe both.
Maybe both.
I know I've seen this movie so many times. Next, we have Russell Holloway. He is Kyle's best friend in the movie.
Yeah.
He kind of comments on a lot of things for Kyle to kind of like give us some exposition, like, oh, you're so lucky, and all these other things. And he is played by Glendon Chapman.
The next character is Kyle's mom, Kate O'Reilly Johnson, played by Marita Garrity.
I think that's an actual Irish name, though, so there's a start
and she
there.
has that like curly red hair. She has great hair.
Yeah, she's
Great
the
hair.
mother of Kyle, and then the father of Kyle is Bob Johnson.
Yep.
Pretty plain name there. He's played by Paul Kiernan.
And then the last guy, kind of an evil guy,
Ooh.
is Seamus McTiernan, played by Timothy Odmanson. So we start off the movie in an auditorium. There's performers on the stage. And then the main character, Kyle Johnson, gets called up to the stage. And he's not coming. And everyone's going like, where's Kyle? Where's Kyle? And then he's really small on the
he's
stage.
like really, really tiny. He's standing like right under the microphone. And he's like, I'm down here.
Yeah, like a tiny little guy. And it ends up just being a bad dream. And his mom wakes him up for the big basketball game.
Ooh. What an intro. I always forget this is even part of the movie.
Yeah.
And even while I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, that thing happened at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kyle's woken up. He has got a big game tomorrow, and mom reminds him like, hey, when you're leaving, don't forget to take your lucky coin with you.
Yep. Kyle starts to ask his mom and dad where he is from. Kyle's like, what is our heritage? And dad's like, we moved here from Cleveland. And mom's like, we're American, Kyle. That's all the heritage we need.
Yeah, and they're so weird about it. They're
So
so weird.
weird.
They're like, they freeze up. They get their big eyes. They're just like, we're from, and dad's like, we're from Cleveland. And he's like, okay, yeah, but like outside of America.
Yeah.
And they're just so weird about it. They're like, you're American. Don't worry about
Especially
it.
the dad, his like reaction. He's like,
So they're obviously hiding something from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like Sam said, he has that lucky coin that he wears around his neck. So he's a basketball player with his friend Russell, who is not as good as Kyle. And kind of the whole reason that they're going to the championships is because of Kyle.
Yeah, like Kyle's super, super good.
Popular. All the gals love him.
Yeah, everyone loves him. Everyone's obsessed with him. It's kind of weird. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
overly like celebrity like at this school, I think. Like I do not remember high school being like that.
No, and like later on in the movie that like they have like a different reaction to Kyle, but I've never at our high school, if there was a game the night before, I feel like no one really knew about it. I don't know. I feel like it was one of those things that people went to it. It would be like, they would know, but I feel like they're not. A basketball player doesn't walk through the hallway and then everyone's like, "Woohoo!"
Yeah,
like that did not happen.
No, yeah,
Like
you may get a couple friends or like people who went and saw the game, but like everyone in the school does not go to the basketball game. I'm sorry, basketball players, but not everyone is there.
I don't think I went to
a good chunk of people are, they are, but it's not everyone in the entire school.
No. And then we meet Bonnie, and she's kind of like the brainiac, in charge of like all the school clubs, kind of the overachiever, of the trio. And she's asking Kyle about Heritage Day and what he's going to do for it. She's like, "Hey, Heritage Day is coming up. What are you doing for it?"
Yeah.
And Kyle's like, "Oh, I don't know. This Heritage Day thing seems so public television." Bonnie's like, "It is your history." And he's like, "I mean, history is like so 10 minutes ago."
So dumb.
So dumb.
He's just as weird as his parents, but I get it because he doesn't know his history and his like heritage. But it's also weird that she just like approaches him. I guess maybe they're already kind of friends.
That's my assumption, is that my feeling is that she's a little bit closer to Russell.
Mm-hmm.
I think because later on in the movie, I think that her and Russell do talk a lot more. Kyle is daydreaming during a test in school. When the bell rings, he just quickly marks all the answers. The teacher's like, "Don't do that. I discourage that in my class because I don't want you guessing." But then he gets all the answers right.
Yep, he just guesses correctly. So Kyle is very, very lucky.
Yes.
I wonder why.
Ooh, I don't
Who
know.
would know? And then he does kind of go back to his parents later on, because now that Bonnie has kind of drilled him and is like, "Well, what's your heritage?" Now he's going to kind of follow up with his parents a little more and be like, "Hey, like, so where are we actually from?"
Right.
The parents are so weird about it. They're
so
like,
weird.
Come up with a cover story. It's not that hard.
Or just tell your son, because here's the thing that I have an issue with, okay? Your son is middle schooler. He's what is that? 13, 14?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, it says they're in junior high, so.
It's like no one is like 100% USA American.
Yeah.
Everyone has heritage. Everyone has a bloodline that started before that they came to the US. And like he's going to figure it out at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
He is not dumb. He goes to a school that's full of very diverse people. This cast is very diverse.
Yeah.
With like, Russell
but not
is
the main family.
Right. And it's like it just confuses me because they like just tell him.
Yeah.
It cannot be that bad, you guys.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad.
Yeah. And even if not, like, I feel like you could have come up with like a generic cover story. Like, we're kind of like Scottish and this and
I'm
maybe
a mix
you're a
of
German. Yeah.
I'm a mix of like white European.
Yeah.
And that's what I am. I'm from a little bit of every like white European place you can be from. That's me.
That's you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was like, is there any family recipes? Like, were anyone good at like any family members good at like soccer or basketball players?
Yeah.
And then they just freak out and say, "We're from Cleveland. We are only 100% American."
Yeah. It's just like so weird. Yeah. It feels like so manipulative too.
Yeah.
It's like, stop asking questions, son.
This is a dad quote. "Being an individual is what an American is all about, Kyle. Doesn't matter where you're from. You can be anything you want to be." And then the mom's like, "Fresh ground pepper?" And then they look at him like all creepy and weird.
So creepy.
It's so weird.
And then we go to Kyle. He's like, "Fine, I'll do my own research." So he's, doing some Googling in the library on one of those multicolored Apple computers we were talking about last episode. And he looks up his last name, Johnson, which is like the most common last name ever. Like, good luck, like, don't just search your last name. Like, maybe look up your dad or your mom, or like, just looking up Johnson is going to come up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that they, like, because we have those like ancestry.com things nowadays. Do you think they had something like that in like 2001 or no?
Not probably with like DNA testing. I mean, I'm sure there's probably like maybe some of the science available, but not like for an everyday. There wasn't like that kind of a thing. But I mean, there's still like family tree. There's lots of people do like lineage tracking.
Right.
And, like, you could still look things up. It's just a little more, you got to do a little more dirty work.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, go to the actual library. There's not going to be as many websites with that information. Now it's quite a bit easier.
Yeah, now you could probably find your whole family. Just one click of the button. But yeah, so types in Johnson, there's 4 million hits.
It'd be way more now.
Yeah. And then Bonnie walks over and she kind of has like a comment. She's like, if you're looking for sports trivia, find gofindalife.com. I love Bonnie.
Damn.
She's
Bonnie.
sassy and I'm here for it. Bonnie's like, I'll help. You know, she starts to ask questions about his mom and dad. She's like, so what's your mom's like maiden name? You know, like before she was married to your dad. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And then she's like, well, what's your dad's heritage? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And like one of her comments is, you don't know your mom's maiden name? How are you going to get a credit card?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, well, like, you know, like for like a security question, there's usually like, what's your mother's maiden name, or what street did you live on? So it's like, I think it's reference to that.
Oh, gotcha.
But also, yeah, she's like, well, what about your mom? And he's like, he's like, I didn't even think about my mom. And I was like, Kyle, you sexist bitch. Like, are you kidding me? Like, half of your lineage is from your mother, and you were just like, I'm just going to look up stuff about my dad's last name. Like, you didn't even think of your mom?
No. Yeah.
He's just kind of an idiot.
Kyle. Bonnie tells Kyle to just talk to his parents because they are his family. And then there's a few, I didn't write these down, but there's a few like talking heads kind of, or like over, what do you call it? Like when they're talking.
Oh, just like a voiceover.
Voiceover.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Oh my God, I could not think of what that was. But there's a couple voiceovers. So it's him like, oh, I just really think my parents are hiding something from me.
Yeah. The narration is weird in this movie. I don't think it needed it.
No, it takes you out of it a little bit because
Yeah.
you're like, it only happens like 5 times.
Yeah.
In the whole movie, and it's like the first half of the movie, and then the rest of the movie when like it starts to get like action packed.
Yeah, I feel like they
It
used it because they
doesn't
were
do
like,
it.
we can't explain this unless we have a narrator because we don't have enough time.
And so Kyle's back at home. He's going through his dad's old yearbook, and he's not able to find him. He's looking under the J. He's like, I don't find a Bob Johnson, and he finds, I think it's his birth certificate.
Yeah, I think it's his.
And his dad's actual last name is Smith.
Yeah, which is like from Smith to Johnson.
It's
like,
why would you change it
who
from
even cares?
one?
Who's gonna find you if your name was Smith? Like, okay,
exactly. And Kyle's mom actually walks in, finds him going through the desk, and she's a little bit suspicious. She's like, something's going on. He's trying to figure out where we're from.
So she's all worked up about it, but
yeah,
we don't know why yet. The next comment I have is the vests are so 2000s. Like the vest that him and Russell wear, like that kind of fleece, a little bit big. Oh my God. I had so many of those.
And just the baggy pants. Kyle and Russell are outside playing basketball in their neighborhood. And he's like trying to like figure out why his parents would change their last name from Smith to Johnson. And there's one line where Kyle's like, well, maybe they were like revolutionaries or whatever. And then Russell's like, or maybe they were abducted by aliens. And I was like, one is actually like a good like point, and the other one is like unrealistic.
Crazy, yeah.
So it was
but in a Disney Channel movie, that shit would happen. Where it's like my parents are
radicalists.
From they were radicalist.
Oh my gosh, can we not talk
we
today?
We can't speak. They're just trying to piece it together.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you, they are way off.
Yes, way off. We'll figure that out towards the end. But yeah, so Kyle makes a crazy shot. Not even look at the basket, kind of adds to his whole like, oh, he's very lucky kind of a thing. He finds a $10 bill on the sidewalk when they're walking to school.
Yeah, they're just on their way to
something
school.
like that. And they see a poster on I think it's like a bus bench.
Yeah, it's just like a bench. It has a poster for the Irish festival that's going on. And he notices on there that the symbol on the poster matches his lucky coin. And he's like, oh, maybe I'm Irish. Maybe I should go to this festival. Let's go.
What do you say? Oh, I thought it was Japanese.
Yeah.
He made a comment about, oh, I thought it was Japanese.
Yeah, it was like, what? It doesn't even look like it looks very.
It does not even look like it's a Japanese symbol. I don't know. Yeah, so they're like, maybe my mom's Irish. So they go to the festival. The Queen's Festival. And it's all like Irish themed. It's very you go anywhere on St. Patrick's Day, you'll be seeing these decorations kind of a thing.
Yeah, it feels like a little fair. There's
Yeah.
rides, there's people dancing, lots of booths.
Top
It
of
looks
the
like
morning to ya.
Yeah, top of the morning to you. And he's giving out like white flower leis, or maybe they're lilies. I don't know.
Yeah. People are doing the classic Irish jig. And so they find a book that is called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Being Irish. Kyle makes a comment. He's like, maybe I should read this.
Find out
like-
some stuff.
Probably. And then Russell finds the exact necklaces that Kyle is wearing. And he's like, those are fake. Mine's real gold.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, and then this old guy approaches them.
Yeah.
And he just like comes out of nowhere, and he's really weird and creepy, and he like shows him the bottom of his shoes, and he's like, what shoes are you wearing? Like, he's talking about like their Nikes. I
Do
think,
your
or,
ma
like-
still make your shoes,
Yeah,
or do you
there's-
make them yourself? And
Yeah.
he's like, did you make those shoes, or does your ma still do it for you? And Russell says, they're called basketball shoes, sir.
Like, yeah, where has this guy been?
Yeah, like, what the heck?
hell? And he shows the bottom of his shoe, and it has a snake on it, and he like claims that he made his own shoes, which is like cool, good for you. He like does like a little trick where he throws coins in the air, and he like disappears, and then the coins perfectly stack up, and they're like, where did he go?
Yeah. And he says, buy them. I don't even know what he says to buy. Some sort of like snack.
Yeah, he's
Maybe.
like, buy yourself and it's some weird like Irish thing. I think it's like a pot of spuds or something.
Yeah, pot of spuds. And so then we cut to Kyle and Russell are watching a show of the Irish jig. The host is Seamus McTiernan, and he is the saint of step.
Yeah, he's the saint of the step, and he says it all the time.
Yeah. And he's like working the crowd, and when he touches someone, they just know how to dance.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it's very weird.
Very
like, All
weird.
of a sudden, he's like taken over by the music, I guess, and like Kyle can't stop doing the step dance. Where did you learn that? Like, that's crazy. And his friend's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I can't help it. And
Yeah.
it's very bizarre.
And he's not that good at it.
No.
The actor did not spend too much time learning.
No, he did not learn
No.
the dance. Yeah.
And then a big scary guy body slams Kyle, helps him up. He is definitely evil.
Yeah. Or they like try to make it seem like he is. And so it's like, okay, weird.
But do we ever see him again?
I don't know. This is a weird thing where I'm like, are they just trying to use him to throw him off, or is he like a henchman of the main person?
After that, it's the next morning. Kyle goes to the mirror and he drops a trophy on his foot.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to show like, maybe not as lucky as you were before.
Yeah,
Something's happening.
something's going on.
And mom is making like traditional Irish food, I guess. And now all of a sudden she has an accent.
Top of the morning to ya.
Now all of a sudden her hair is a little more curly. She has an accent, and she's making more like, earlier in the movie, she's known for making like super healthy, organic kind of meals. And now she's making like these heavy, hearty Irish meals.
Yeah, she's making bacon and eggs, and the dad's like, isn't that a little heavy on the cholesterol?
Yeah.
So Kyle's confused. Dad's confused. Dad is confused through the whole movie.
Yeah, most of the time.
Dad
the dad
never
is
gets
confused.
Dad never gets clarification on anything in the entire movie. So it's not healthy. The breakfast is like really fatty. It's just a bunch of like meat, blood sausage.
Yeah, it's like pork sausage and blood sausage and a bunch of other stuff.
And a bunch of other stuff that's just like very heavy.
And Kyle now is also like, he goes in and out of an Irish accent now. It starts happening where
Yeah.
he's like, do you notice that ma something? And he does it. It's not good.
No, it's not good. But this is kind of the moment where Kyle realizes and finds out that they are Irish.
Yeah, mom is like, I'm going to tell you about your heritage. And the dad's like, don't say anything. What are you about to do? And she's like, you're Irish.
Yeah. And mom says, why she didn't want to tell him was basically because when they came, I don't know the history, but when they came initially, they were very discriminated against.
Yeah, the Irish were looked down on. Like, it was terrible. They were paid like really, really small amounts. Like,
Yeah.
there were like Irish only areas. It was not good for them.
No.
And so she was like, I didn't want you to have to deal with that like discrimination. And he's like, Mom, that was like such a long time ago. Like,
And that's the thing I appreciate about this movie is, different parts of just Irish, discrimination.
Yeah, it's trying. It is trying.
Yeah, and it kind of pinpoints like all the discrimination for other, Asian people and Black people. It's like it feels like that
Yeah.
they're kind of trying to, but they don't do it in a great way.
Yeah. It was.
But then it's also like rah rah America, and it's like this is kind of, I don't know how it
It's
balances
got
out.
two sides. I feel like it's trying to be like diverse and but also be like very palatable for a very white audience.
Yes.
That's what it feels like.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and the mom basically says the signs in the show window saying no Irish need apply. I just wanted you to be 100% American.
Yeah.
And like, I get it. You want to shelter your kids and you want to save them from their own discrimination, but
Like, you got to tell them at some point anyway.
that's what I'm saying. That's why I go back to, like, he's old enough now. If Kyle were like 5 years old, I understand sheltering him, but he's going to school. It's like a parent who wants to shelter their kid. This is like, you know,
It's
super
Simon Fletcher all over again.
Like, you want to shelter your kids from like bad words or like, you know, pop culture, but then they go to a public school and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to how are you supposed to like hide your kids when they're, you know, hide your kids from this certain thing when they're old enough to know?
Yeah, they're a part of
Kyle's-
the world now, you know? Like, they're
Yeah.
going to interact with it, and you have
Yeah.
you can either slowly introduce them to it and kind of show them like, hey, here's what's good, here's what's bad, here's how this works. Some people think this way, some people think that way. Or you can be like, none of it's true, it's all fake, you're never going to learn about it. And then they just like, one day they have to join the real world, and it's like a big wake-up call.
shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just be honest with our children.
Yeah, let's be honest with them. And the mom makes a super hefty breakfast, gives it to Kyle and his dad, and then then she gives Kyle a plate full of crew beans and colcannon in a bucket. Is what's in it.
What is colcannon?
Colcannon is a traditional dish of mashed potatoes with cabbage and kale.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
And that sounds delicious, but crew beans,
Oh,
though,
no. Oh,
are
no.
an Irish dish made of boiled pig's feet, and they're traditionally eaten by hand like corn on the cob.
Oh.
So those two things together, I'm like, I don't know if I like the
I don't think I've
splatter.
ever eaten pig's feet. I like pork,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I want the foot.
But what she gives him, it looks gross. I looked it up online, and it looked a little bit better.
Yeah, they make it look nasty, which is like, I don't know, like, is that kind of culturally insensitive, or is it just kind of up the yuck
It
value
was
of it to make it look so
2001.
dramatic? Yeah, and also it's in like a metal bucket. It's not in a lunchbox.
Yeah, we could put it in Tupperware.
Yeah, it's just like in an open metal bucket.
We
And
can
she's like,
invest
here's
in
your lunch.
we can invest in some Tupperware.
Yeah, Mom, like,
And then after that, Russell and Kyle are on the way to school. He finds some more money, and Kyle says it must be the luck of the Irish.
yeah,
And then gets splashed by a car in a puddle.
you deserved it after that one.
Yeah. And that kind of begins like Kyle's like really bad day.
Yeah, he has a whole unlucky montage, is what I call it, where like
Yeah.
one thing after another happens. Like, first he's splashed by the car, like you mentioned. Then they do like a little thing where he's lost his homework, he can't find it. Which I don't even know if he did his homework, because he seems like he's not a great student.
No.
The water fountain sprays his pants, and so then people think he like wet himself, and then his food from his locker falls all over him. And I think that might be the reason they made it look so gross, is so it would just like spill out all over him.
Right. And he does get rejected by a girl too at one point. So it's just
unlucky.
it's just a bad day.
Yeah.
And then he's in the lunchroom. He's talking to Russell about how unlucky he is. He's a guy's like, "Hey, do you want my chocolate dessert?" And he's like, "Great." And then he dumps that all over himself too.
Yeah.
So just a really bad day.
Horrible day. He's such
Yeah.
a baby about it, because we're supposed to like, he says like he's never had a bad day before because he's so lucky. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Like, I'm supposed to feel bad for you?
No sympathy.
Yeah.
No sympathy, Kyle. Sorry.
Uh,
It is basketball practice, and everyone is asking him to touch the rim, because when him and Russell were playing earlier in the movie, he actually does do it. And Russell's like, he can touch the rim. He can touch the rim. He can't touch the rim.
no, he jumps and he doesn't even touch the net, and he
No,
falls.
he
And it's really
falls.
dramatic the way he falls. He's like, oh.
And everyone laughs at him.
It's really, they turn on him in a second. I was like,
So-
yesterday you were clapping for him and everyone was like, yeah, Kyle. And today literally misses one shot and the team's already like, I don't know about this Kyle guy. Where'd he come from?
Yeah, it's kind of like bitchy.
It's bad.
The coach gives the team a pep talk about the big semifinal championship game. But he's not a good basketball player anymore, because his coach is like, oh, line up, let's do some foul shots, which is when you get fouled and you if anyone's seen basketball,
Yeah.
where you stand on the line and you do the
little free
you do
throw,
the little thing.
you do the little thing.
I'm not a sports player. I'm probably
Basketball was like the one sport I actually played, but only when I was like tiny. So
it's because you're tall.
But I wasn't then. So I don't know what I was thinking. I should have waited.
And he wants them to get 10 before the game that night.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows a montage of all the kids doing it, and Kyle is the last one and he doesn't get any.
Yeah, he doesn't make any of them. And Russell's really nice. Russell's also he's the second to last person there, so we are like, okay, Russell's probably not the best person on the team.
I don't think Russell is the star player either.
But him and Kyle are best friends. So they do everything together. And Russell's like, "Do you want me to hang back? Like, I'll wait for you." And I'm like, "That's so nice." Like, I know it's something so small, but like when a friend's like, "Hey, I see that like it's tough today. Do you want me to like hang back with you?" Like, that's such a nice thing to offer.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, it's fine. And then he keeps like trying to make the shots. And then enter Bonnie.
Bonnie's here. Kyle and Bonnie have a conversation on the court, and it's kind of basically like Bonnie being like, you would be a better person if everything wasn't so easy for you.
Yeah.
She kind of gets mad at him because he is arrogant.
Yeah, he's really arrogant.
But I understand the root of his arrogance because he has had the most easy life.
He's never struggled ever.
He's never struggled. And so as a middle schooler, never having to struggle at being the popular kid, never having to go, like you and I
never
both.
Never been bullied, never been awkward, never been,
Like when you go through life and you like look back on middle school and you go, I was the weirdest person and I had like awkward moments and I was not cool and I was blah, blah, blah. It helps you grow as a person.
Yeah, those are the most well-rounded adults.
And he...
or traumatized.
If he never had to go through what happens later in the movie, he'd probably be the worst person to be around. Because
100%.
And so Bonnie kind of tries to put him in his place, like, you know.
Yeah, you never worked for anything. What do you even know about hard work? Everything's just worked out for you.
Yeah, and then he's like, well, what do you know about basketball?
Yeah.
And she like gets a shot. She like makes a shot and gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of just like proves her point. Like, I worked hard.
Yeah, she's like, that's practice.
Yeah.
Like, I worked to do that.
So it's kind of the first point in the movie where someone actually calls him out on his shit and being like upset for having a bad day, which is just a thing every human.
Yeah, everyone goes through bad days.
Everyone goes through bad days.
And some people have it harder than others. And so when you finally experience that, like, yeah, you can have a little bit of woe is me, a little bit of like, yeah, this sucks. Like, feel it, be sad. But also acknowledge like everyone else has shitty days too for whatever reason. So, yeah.
You are not alone, Kyle. We are at the basketball game and Kyle is doing really bad.
Yeah, he's doing terribly. And there's people the people in the stands are super pissed. Everyone's like, take him out of the game, get him out of there. Like everyone has turned on Kyle in an instant.
Like, I feel like I went to some games as a high schooler, and I don't feel like you ever turned on a specific player. You might have been disappointed if your team was doing bad.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, get him out of the game. The parents were all like, get him out of the game. It seemed just like very intense. And it's middle school. It's not even high school.
My older brothers, almost all of them played sports. There are always a couple parents who are like that.
Really?
There are always a couple. And it is kind of hilarious to watch. When you're a kid, it's a little terrifying because you hear people like cussing and being like, wow, like, what the fuck is going on? And like, screaming. Like, there are some parents who get really defensive about their kids in sports. I think they do still win the game, but not thanks to Kyle. Thanks to everyone else on the team.
Thanks to specifically Drake.
Drake, that's right. He's kind of like, he's next in line for the throne.
We don't really meet Drake, but we hear about Drake. And I think he's one of the other guys. He kind of has like the hair thing, you know?
Yeah. It's the hierarchy. Like, he's next in line if Kyle is dethroned as the popular guy. So
right.
We don't want that to happen. That would be so terrible.
Oh my gosh. Kyle is really upset when he's driving home with his parents. And his parents are trying to help and say, like, everyone has an off night. Like, everyone has a bad day. Everyone has a bad night. You know, it's totally fine. They're still going to go to the finals because of Drake. And then so the mom makes a comment. She's like, I might drink a bit of a warm Bonnie clobber before I go to bed. And of course, I get curious. And
Good.
What I could find, it was a little bit tricky to research this, and people listening, if you know, let us know, but it's a thickly curdled sour milk is what I got from it.
Oh, okay. It's not alcoholic at all, or is it?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting.
Because I thought it was.
Right, they just probably found like Irish Drake and put it in.
Yeah, but it's weird because it seems thick.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming if you heat it up, it turns into like
like a warm milk kind
a
of
warm
thing.
milk, but it
Yeah.
seems like sour and curdled, which just sounds
Interesting.
awful. But maybe I think I saw other
But, I
places where
mean-
you add sugar and honey
Yeah, I
and
was
you
gonna say,
add
we eat,
stuff
like
to
cottage
it.
cheese and stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
probably kind of similar. And yeah, you sweeten it. And then wake up next morning. Kyle knocks over the trophy again, but he moves his foot out of the way, so he's like prepared for it. Which for me, I'm gonna overanalyze this here. For me, it already shows like he's learning a little bit about like you can deal with a bad day, you can deal with bad luck.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I didn't get hit this time. Yeah, he knocked it over, but it didn't hurt his foot this time. And then also, he appears to be quite a bit shorter.
Yes.
Like his pants are a lot longer, and he like they use the shot of him in his mirror, like on his
Yeah.
dresser, and he's a lot lower than he was the day before.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's kind of starting to notice something fishy going on. The house is full of smoke because the mom is doing having
Yeah,
like
she's
a
cooking
huge
over a
fire.
in their like suburban home.
And I'm like, where's the fire alarms?
Yeah, I was like, there's so much smoke, and like they wake up, and he's like, "Did you smell something, da?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, the accent."
Duh. So Russell and Kyle are walking to school. Russell makes this comment about the game and how his dad has said if your team loses, he's going to adopt everyone else from the other team.
Yeah, his dad seems like really harsh.
I'm like-
and I'm like, poor Russell. Like, like they made it seem like he's not like the best player on the team, but like he enjoys playing and he likes hanging out with Kyle.
Yeah.
Why can't that be enough?
It's never enough. And I guess his dad also, I think at one point, I don't know if it's this part of the movie, but he says like, oh, my dad measures me every day just to see if I'm getting taller. And anyway, so he makes a comment about his height because he's like, oh, I'm like kind of as tall as you.
Yeah,
or like
that's not
taller.
normal.
Maybe I had a growth spurt or something. And Kyle's like, oh no, I'm packing on the weight.
Yeah.
I'm like, packing on the weight does not shrink, does it?
It might make you appear because you look whiter rather than taller. It's
but
like
it doesn't
when I'm wearing
shrink you.
vertical or horizontal stripes, so it makes me look a little whiter. It's like wearing vertical stripes or horizontal stripes.
Okay, that's fair,
It can
but
make you appear shorter, but it wouldn't make you actually shorter.
Actually shorter.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, that doesn't make much sense.
It's
but
an illusion. But also, he says it's because the food his mom's been making lately. Okay, it's been 2 days of this, Kyle.
yeah.
You're that big after 2 days.
But I mean, to be fair, they were eating. I mean, the dinner was like these really thin noodles with a bowl that had just like a lettuce.
Yeah,
Thing
mom's
in
old
it.
meals. Like maybe they might be getting a little more protein now.
Yeah, I don't think they were eating quite enough protein.
Yeah.
When mom was cooking
Yeah.
before. Kyle shows up to school and he is getting a lot of shit about the last night's
Everyone
game.
is so mean. And again, everyone in the school was at the basketball game.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
I'm not trying to bitch about it, but I am gonna bitch about it. Like no, everyone was not there. Like we were in drama. We know not everyone goes to the plays. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine if you don't go to everything in high school. Everything you don't have to go to everything, but
It's
yeah.
so unrealistic. It just kills me. And yeah, again, them all being so directly mean to him too, and they're like, "You suck now. You're horrible."
yeah, and it's like
garbage.
he's like one of the best players on the team. He had one bad game, and all of them turn on him.
It's like
bizarre. None of the girls want to talk to him. They all want to talk to Drake.
right, and this is before like Reddit and Twitter, so I can't imagine people being so binary in their thinking.
Oh my
but
God.
here we are.
I could not be. I went to Oregon State, and I could not be like a football player because some people are crazy.
People are crazy. People are crazy.
Like fans that like of like college teams, I feel like specifically. I
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine being the pros, but like they're kids. I mean, they're
Yeah.
adults, but they're
they're
still
young. Yeah, they're figuring
teenagers.
so much out. Yeah.
And to have like hate online, like yeah, like if this was like with social media, it would be like so much worse.
So
but
extreme.
it just seems so weird. It's like something that doesn't matter. A junior high
They're-
basketball game.
Yeah, yeah. But again, when you're that old, it means more. But even so, it's just like, it's so ridiculous. I don't know.
And then Bonnie tries to talk to Kyle, and he kind of just blows her off because she was a little bit bitchy.
She was. But I don't blame her. I understand
No.
why she's like upset. And it seems like she also wants to play basketball. So it seems like he's getting everything she wants. And she's worked really hard for everything that she has.
Very hard.
So, but yeah, so then he's in science class with Russell because apparently they have every class together, like Lucky
Yeah.
with your best friend. That's so much fun. So they're in science class together and they're talking about magnets. and they're talking about how it only sticks to iron, cobalt, and nickel. So he's like waving around the magnet and it sticks to his coin. And Russell's like, I thought you said it was gold. And he's like, it is. This must not be it.
Yeah.
Someone must have taken my coin. And so now he's like frantically searching for it.
He runs to call his mom on the payphone at school, which is just a trip.
What a time.
What a time. I said can't relate.
And he's wearing that bucket hat. Oh, the bucket hat.
The
They're
bucket.
kind of back now.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. I'm not a hat person. The phone isn't working. Kyle's kind of freaking out. And he takes his hat off and he has orange spiky hair.
Yeah.
And little pointy ears.
His hair is, it's really bright, just on like the top layer.
Yeah.
His ears are like slightly starting to point, and his friends are like, whoa, what did you do? Like, and then he's like, wait, what? And then he runs to the bathroom to check it out.
I kind of like it.
It's fun.
It kind of looks cool.
It is kind of cool. But earlier, I will have to say this. Earlier and later in the movie, when his hair is not supposed to be red anymore, it is very clear that they like dyed it back to being darker, and you can still kind of see the red coming through. And I'm like, why didn't they have the foresight to film the dark-haired parts before the hair dyeing?
Because it's Disney Channel. They don't think that far ahead.
I was just like, he has a little bit of a red
They
tint
probably
already.
film in like chronological order.
They might have just done it, yeah. I feel like they were writing it as they went.
Yeah, or being like, just make something up.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
Kyle runs out of school. Russell's really, really stressed because he's like, if you miss school today, you can't play, which we all know,
Yeah.
We were in theater in high school. If you didn't go to school or missed any of your classes, you could not perform that night.
And stuff.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. I mean, to go back to high school when there was like, I never got to do senior skip day because we had a performance on that day.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. It must have been.
It was a performance of something.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Probably.
Yeah. And so I was like the only one in all of my like senior classes, which
I wish
kind of
we were
sucked.
better friends then, because I went with a couple friends like on a later date. We just skipped the day of school.
Oh, really?
We were like, hey,
Gosh,
it's going to be nice this day in like May or something. We're like, let's do it then.
Yeah.
I think it was after the show, so it was fine.
I don't think I ever skipped school.
You're better than I am.
Yeah. I know. When he gets home, his mom is super small, just like when Kyle, just at the beginning of the movie when Kyle was on the stage.
Yeah.
So she's shrunk down, and she tells Kyle that she is a leprechaun.
Surprise!
She is a leprechaun.
Which then means that he is half leprechaun because his dad is just like a dude.
Yeah, there's a good back and forth where the dad goes, I know it's hard to believe, Kyle, but when I first met your mother, and Kyle says, you're not a leprechaun too, and his dad goes, no, I'm from Cleveland. This
So
dad
that was true. That stuff about him being from Cleveland, Ohio is true.
He loves to talk about Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, and it's brought up again later. So.
Yeah. And then Kyle finds out that he is half leprechaun.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, wait, so I am, and then he has his dad measure him. He's lost like 2 inches.
2 inches.
Which... yeah, I feel like we all knew at this point. But Dad confirmed.
Yeah. And then Dad tells Kyle that as long as the O'Reillys, which is his mom's maiden name, have their luck, they can pass as normal humans. But Kyle has lost the coin and their luck is gone. And at this point in the movie, I go, why give it to a middle schooler then?
Yeah, it's so weird that it's always, I guess it's like a tradition to always give it to the youngest member.
Yeah, but...
and I'm like, why? The youngest member is the most irresponsible person.
But like, so
I
was
should know.
Kyle walking around at like 5 years old with this coin around his neck too?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know when they gave. Yeah, he said he got it when he was a baby. So I'm like, okay, interesting.
A baby's gonna rip that shit off or like lose it. Like,
yeah.
I get the sentiment and like that's the thing that they do, but it's also very irresponsible.
Yeah, if it's like your whole entire family is like luck, and yeah, they say without the luck, they're not able to pass for human. So that is why his mom is a leprechaun. That's why he's starting to become more leprechaunish, getting shorter, red hair.
Right.
All of that. Oh, and then he talks about the old guy that they saw.
Right.
He's like, yeah, we went to this festival. And he's like, you shouldn't have been there. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's like illegal to go to the Irish festival. But apparently.
But is the Irish festival like all year long?
I don't know. I think he just said like the fairgrounds. He's like, you're not supposed to go to the fairgrounds. And I'm
Yeah.
like, is the fairgrounds bad?
Like what month are we? What time of year are we in?
I don't know. I want to say it's like march for like St. Patrick's Day for the Irish festival, but I have no idea. It's not very clear.
So he tells about the old guy he bumped into. The mom's like, oh, did he have a snake on the bottom of his shoe? And Kyle's like, yep. And she's like, oh, that's your granddad. And he's like, what?
I didn't even know I had a grandfather.
And they're basically like, he stole your coin. He manipulated you, and he stole your coin.
Yeah, it sounds like grandpa and mom do not have a good relationship. They're not on speaking terms.
No.
And so she highly suspects him and that he's just mad that they ran off and all this other stuff. So she's like, yep, it's him. He did it.
We find out that the grandfather is the owner of O'Reilly's chip factory that is in town. Russell was eating these when he was in the lunchroom with Kyle earlier in the movie. And the chip company is called Emerald Isles.
Emerald Isles.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So they end up going to the chip factory because now they're on the hunt to get the coin back.
Yes.
Right? So they go to the chip factory. Kyle and his dad try to get in, but the security guard says nope.
Yeah, he just kicks him out. I love that they like throw him over the bushes. Like it's so dramatic.
Yeah. And all the employees at this chip factory have an Irish accent.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're actually Irish or if they just like made him talk in an Irish accent.
Hard to tell. And yeah, I'm like, oh, is he like only hiring Irish people? I could maybe see that, but like it's yeah.
Kyle asks his dad why he's never met his granddad, and the dad kind of opens up and he's like, because I'm not a leprechaun and they don't believe in mixed marriages. That's why we had to leave Cleveland. We even changed our name so that Kate's family couldn't find us. Which, this is a writing thing. This is a nitpicky thing. Why would he refer to his mom by her first name to Kyle? Because when my dad talks about my mom to me, he goes, "Oh, mom said this. Mom said
Or
that."
Like your mom, yeah.
Yeah, and the dad says Kate.
Yeah.
It's a writing thing. It's a nitpicky weird thing, but I felt like that was weird. Like my dad's never been like, "Oh, Pat said this" or whatever to me.
Yeah, that feels like a little more disconnected.
It always says mom said this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just an interesting thing. The guy at the front desk, turns them away and throws them on the curb.
Yeah. Because they talked to the grandfather over the phone, or he didn't, but the security did, and he's like, he says he doesn't have a daughter, so this relationship is fully severed. But then Kyle notices that there is a tour group of students here. They're the Young Achievers, and Bonnie happens to be, head of the Young Achievers because Bonnie does everything at the school.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm just gonna sneak in with them, and he kind of just like huddles up with them. Also, the tour guide with her little outfit feels very like airplane stewardess.
Yes, and an Irish accent too.
Yes.
Kyle sees the Young Achievers group and joins them to get in his foot in the door, and actually gets into the factory and is like walking around.
Yeah, and then he just is part of the tour. Bonnie hasn't noticed yet, but he asks a question of the tour guide. He's like, will we get to meet Riley O'Reilly? And she's like,
right.
No, he's in another part of the building. Like, that's not part of the tour. And that's where Bonnie's like, why is Kyle here? Like,
you're not a young achiever.
You're not a young achiever, Kyle. You guess on all your tests. So
Which, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like he would be, right? Because if he was like a straight A student, good at basketball, I feel like he would be part of like the honor society. That's what I'm assuming. Like this is the equivalent
it's the extracurricular honor society.
So I feel like he would be, but maybe I don't know. Maybe he isn't.
Well, he plays basketball, so he doesn't have time.
Kyle tells Bonnie that Mr. O'Reilly is the one who stole his coin, but she's not convinced. But the security guard sees Kyle in the monitors, and they go after him.
Yeah, they set off like huge sirens. It's actually crazy for like a small intrusion. Like, I feel like it would be more like at the grocery store where they have maybe something over the intercom where they're like, it's a code, blah, 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 to keep it more discreet and be like, we'll send a couple guards over. But instead it's like huge alarms are going off. They're
Panic.
Like, yep, we need to run. They start chasing them down through all the aisles and stuff. And eventually they get on like a golf cart type thing.
Yeah.
And they're just like driving through the whole factory. It's just like a whole chase scene. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's very dramatic. Mr. O'Reilly catches Kyle and Bonnie, and Kyle has more pointy ears.
And he does say like, oh, that's my grandson.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay.
Crisis averted.
For the rest of my notes, just so the audience knows, I refer to O'Reilly as O. So Kyle tells O that he does not have his coin, and
well, first he brings up the shoes again, the grandpa, and but he says this line, and I'm like, it's kind of cool. He says, "When you make your own shoes, you're the master of your own fate," which I feel like is just the movie trying to be like, you make your own destiny. It's not all about luck. Yeah, then he fully accuses his grandfather and is like, you stole my coin. You know why like this is happening. You stole my coin. And the grandpa's like, no, I didn't. Why would I do that?
Yeah. And he's like, well, I lost the coin. And the grandpa's like, we've had this coin in the family for over thousands of years. How can you be so irresponsible? I go back to, don't give it to the youngest member of the fucking family.
He just says it. Yeah, he just says it always goes to the youngest member because they always have all the luck. And I was like, I don't get it. Does it only work if he has it? Maybe it's like it's a part of the contract of the magic. Maybe
that could be it.
Like it's very much like has to go to youngest. That's that.
But I'm very impressed with Kyle's ability to. This is the first time he's lost the coin.
Know. Yeah, we need like flashbacks of him as like a little kid, like forgetting it some days, and like all of a sudden like hair starts turning red, or like mom's like, "Oh, I'm Irish." Yeah.
So Kyle finds out that the coin has been keeping the clan O'Reilly together for thousands of years. Oh daddy, I don't know.
Oh daddy.
Gosh.
Auto parts.
Sometimes I have a drink while I do this, so sometimes my notes can get a little crazy. Oh daddy answers my question and says that it's the youngest member of the clan, because I was telling this to Andrew when I was first watching. I was like, why would they trust him with it? But then he says, oh, it's because of the younger member of the clan is the one who actually gets to have it, because it's always the young who have all the luck.
Right. But then Bonnie's like, luck isn't everything, and she literally goes back into her whole like, yo, hard work, like learn some stuff. And the grandpa's not buying it, which is just kind of funny. And then he says something about like maybe like hinting at maybe being like the inventor of the potato chip. And she's like, that wouldn't make sense. You'd be like over 100 years old. And they kind of like brush it off. But I think we're supposed to like now learn that like, oh, leprechauns must live for a very long time.
Yes. Because I think he alludes to also like he's 200 years old. Or more. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's like super, super old, which then maybe kind of explains, because something that I thought was weird is when they start turning into leprechauns, their like attire also goes like back in time.
Yeah,
and I was like, why would that make you like wear old timey clothing? But I guess like if they're that old, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
kind of. But it doesn't make sense why Kyle later would. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing.
It is a weird thing, and O thinks that it is Seamus from the festival because he knows Seamus.
Yeah, he's like he's also a leprechaun, but they're like a bad variety of leprechaun, essentially. And so he suspects him, and I love this part where like the grandpa like approaches the mom in the car, and she slaps him like she's a tiny little person, and she slaps him in the face,
and he literally almost falls.
Yeah,
like he almost falls on the ground when he gets slapped. It's like
damn, okay,
very dramatic.
Yeah.
Mom is convinced that O took the coin, and he's like, I didn't, and it's like this whole thing of like the dad, because I don't think O had met the dad.
Yeah,
yet.
He was just against like even meeting him or them being married because he's human. But they like quickly make amends. All of a sudden, like this whole family drama is solved. And I guess it's a little realistic in the fact that they all have the same thing to lose and they all have a common enemy. Yeah. So, okay, let bygones be bygones. We have to go get this coin. So they all get in Grandpa's car, which is like this green convertible, like...
I love it.
It's really fun.
It is really fun.
The top is off. Everyone's riding.
And Russell's crossing the street. And then they go, hey, Russell, want to go with us?
You have no luck? Where did Russell come from? Like, they're literally just, like, on their way, and he happens to be crossing the street. Like,
and they stop, and they're like, come on in, buddy.
Yeah, he just joins, and I'm like, they're not supposed to be lucky anymore. Like, I'm confused.
And then this part always confuses me. They just somehow stumble upon Seamus's RV.
Yeah, like where they're at. And they're like, oh, we found it. So again, like,
but it doesn't say how they found it, or if the grandpa was like, I know where he hangs out. I know where his house is. They just roll up and it's there.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And so we know that the dad's like, you know what? I will go do this. I will be like, I'll sneak in. I'll go get the coin. It looks like we're not in the RV right now. And the grandpa says something about Seamus. He's like, well, if you do encounter him, a good way to get out of stuff is to make a bet with him. He can't deny a bet. So, maybe do that if you have to. And the dad's like, okay, whatever. And the dad sneaks onto the RV. He's like outside the RV looking into the window, and immediately like Seamus is there and he spooks him and he falls
off. Yeah.
And they drive off. They're skedaddling.
And it's like a huge chase
It's
scene.
a huge car chase for this like low budget movie, and it's literally an RV and like this green convertible. Like,
yeah, it's pretty great. And they end up losing them in the chaos. I think there's some car issues with O's car. I think it
Yeah.
ends up breaking down.
yeah, and in the RV they throw their food at their car, and it like goes on the windshield.
Yeah.
and it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. Kyle tells Russell that they have to go to the big championship game because it's getting later in the day. Russell is like, "Are you coming also?" And then cue the sad music. Kyle, "I can't play looking like this. I never could play anyway. Not really." And then Bonnie tells Kyle that sports isn't everything. And then the dad's kind of like, "I'm really sorry for not telling you sooner," because they did kind of fuck him up.
Yeah, they messed him up because they never told him earlier, like, this
Yeah.
is why everything works out for you. And so,
Right.
like, to have that, I can understand why he's so, like, what do I do? I've always had this thing with me, and now I don't have it.
Yeah.
And he believes it's the reason why he's so good at everything. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of a shitty feeling. But what I don't understand is they literally all just give up. And instead of, like, even just, like, I don't know, if I were them, like, it starts raining.
Yeah.
And they all just sit in this car with the open roof, and they have an umbrella, and they're all just kind of like huddled together in the car.
Yeah.
I would be like, hey, maybe some of us should go, like, I know they're a little defeated, but like maybe we could like walk up the street, find a phone, or like let's all go to the diner and have some food and just like, yeah, today sucked. Let's just like they all just sit in the car in the rain, and I don't understand.
Yeah. And I think there's like a gas station because the dad goes somewhere.
Yeah, eventually
also.
they lift their spirits, but for a while they're all just sitting in the car for no reason.
Yeah.
They're all just defeated, I guess.
And they're all fighting. And Bonnie says, "I was just going to say that everyone has bad luck, but you can make it better if you just keep trying. I mean, when the Irish came to America, things were tough, and they had to take jobs that other people would not want to take, and they did not get paid what they deserved." And Russell comes in with well, at least they got paid.
Yeah.
Because Russell is a
Damn,
black
Disney!
character.
Right.
So it was like, for the time, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, but it's very true. I mean,
Very true.
Yeah, like what the hell? Like they didn't even get paid.
No, absolutely not. And she said the important thing is that they didn't give up. They kept trying till things got better, and that's what makes them special. Not where they are now, but the spirit that kept them going on the way there.
Yeah.
And then Kyle makes a snarky comment, and he goes, "She's an overachiever." And Bonnie goes, "I'm an American, and we all are. And Americans never give up."
Yeah. All of a sudden, the movie starts becoming very patriotic. Like very patriotic.
There's little hints of it, but from this point, it's like,
From this point on, it gets very it's
I
on a
just-
climb.
yeah. I just like that whole moment. I just feel like Bonnie's really trying to like
Yeah.
boost everyone's morale. Like, come on, guys, they never give up. We're Americans. We
can
never
do
give
it.
up.
Yeah. And it's like good, whatever. You know what? I'm just proud of her for having a fighting spirit when literally all these lame ass people are like, we lost, it's over.
And then the rain stops immediately.
Yeah, once their moods change, the rain stops. And everyone's like, okay, game plan, here we go.
And then they see a rainbow. And so they start to run after that rainbow, and O is like, "We're gonna go to the end of the rainbow where there's a pot of gold."
Yep.
And Russell's like, "That's not a real thing. I'm gonna be a scientist when I'm older, and that's not a real thing."
Yeah. And the grandpa's like, well, I'm a leprechaun, so I know these things.
I know these things.
Okay, grandpa. So then they do find the RV. Grandpa, Russell, and Kyle are all kind of in a little group now. And Bonnie's with the parents. Kyle and the grandpa sneak onto the RV. They're like, okay, let's get this coin. And the grandpa apparently has magical powers now because he like unlocks the safe with just like moving his hand, and it like spins and it like
Opens.
yeah, it's like a whole thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's something we didn't know about.
Yeah.
Very weird. I don't know. I didn't know they were like extra magical, but apparently they are. And Kyle's like, great, we found the coin. It's right on top with like all these other coins.
All these other coins, yeah.
And the grandpa's like, well, why don't we just take everything? He's kind of being a little greedy.
Little greedy. And Kyle's like, no, we're not gonna, if he stole them, we should call the police. Very Disney Channel. Like, let's
moral
teach kids
decision.
a lesson. If someone stole something, call the police.
Yeah.
It felt like very much like that.
Yeah, do the right thing. For me, I'm thinking if you take that entire thing, they're going to know exactly who did it because you tried to steal earlier, and they'll just come after you. If you just steal your coin and leave the rest, they might not notice for a while, and you could get away with it. it just seems smarter.
You should have been there with them in
Like,
that
Grandpa,
RV.
you're being greedy.
You're
Stop.
being greedy. And we cut to Seamus, who's in a pub diner with his friends. They're all hanging out and drinking, and he has this moment of like realization, like he knows that someone's in his shit.
His leprechaun senses are tingling.
Kyle has so then we cut back to the RV. Kyle has a speech to O to try to further convince him to not steal.
And he does the whole, we came to America to do what? To be better than that. And
Yeah.
and it's like, again, the whole America speech. Like, it really starts building from here.
Yeah. And then Kyle kind of alludes to the fact, like, it's us, it's you and me, like, I'm in this family. And this next part bothers me. So O basically says he would not steal because Kyle accepts that he is Irish. And when was Kyle ever unaccepting that he was Irish?
Yeah, he's
he
like-
didn't know.
Yeah, he
Up
didn't know
until
what he
that
was.
morning or the day before, he did not know he was Irish. So the grandfather would be like, well, now that you're accepting that you're Irish, you know, I won't steal. He was never not accepting. He just didn't fucking know.
He had no idea his parents lied to him for half his life. Like, what do you expect?
So I don't get that. So it puts a lot of pressure on Kyle, you know, but he accepts his family. He wants to be one of the, this is a grandpa quote, but one of the little people.
Yeah.
That's what he says in
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah,
I'm not being
referring to
offensive.
leprechauns.
Yeah.
Yeah, not.
And
yeah.
so Kyle puts his coin back on, and ears, height, hair all go back to normal. The grandpa loses the long beard. Everything kind of goes back to normal. But
Seamus catches him.
Yep. And it's like the swirling.
Yeah, like crazy
thing?
RV tornado magic. Again, I didn't know leprechauns could like conjure up storms in the middle of an RV, but here we are.
I should have researched leprechauns more before watching
Leprechaun
this.
tornadoes. Gotta look it up. It's like a Sharknado, but it's like a tornado with a bunch of leprechauns.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he kind of swirls up, and then he sucks O into the pot of gold, and they get Russell too. So everyone's kind of under attack, basically. I think it's Russell, O, and Kyle, because
They were
parents
together.
and Bonnie are off doing whatever parents and Bonnie do.
Yeah. And so then he's like, you're caught, like you're beat. What are you going to do about it? And so Kyle remembers that because he catches the grandpa and is like, I'm keeping him.
Yeah.
He's mine. He's in trouble. And Kyle's like, I'll make a deal with you, because he remembers that his grandpa's like, if you make a bet with him, he will probably accept.
Yeah.
And he's like, and it's so vague.
Yeah.
He's like, if I beat you at sports,
Sports.
pick an activity. He's just like, sports. If I beat you at sports, then I get we get everything back. All is good.
Yeah.
And he's like, sure, we'll do it. So all of a sudden they're transported to like medieval Ireland, I'm assuming.
Yes.
To play these like old Irish sports.
Which is called hurling.
Yeah, the first game they do is hurling.
And just to go back to a funny mom thing that she said, she's like, you should really take up hurling or something like that. And Kyle's like, Mom, I'm not sick. I just lost the basketball game. But yeah, so this is like a whole tournament of that they call hurling. It's a bunch of different like games. They carry rocks at one point. They throw a wheel, and they're wrestling.
Yeah. So there's all these different things, and they essentially go back and forth. And the last one is step dancing.
Yeah.
And look. I don't understand this being the last competition. So here's where we're at.
Yeah.
Seamus has 5 points, or his team has 5 points, because him and his gang are against Russell and Kyle by themselves. So first of all, it's already very unfair, because there's like 6 people versus 2.
Adults versus middle schoolers.
Yeah, versus middle schoolers who
Yep.
also have magic powers. So I don't know. But they have 5 points, and Russell and Kyle have 4. And so
Yeah.
they're like, here's a tie, like, here's like, this could really end it all. And it's the step dance as their last competition. And you would think that Seamus would win, because literally that's like his job. He goes to these festivals and like performs and is very good at it.
Right.
And so he does it, and he like does like, I'm the saint of the step thing that he
Yeah.
says before, because he's full of himself. And you're like, great. And then Kyle goes. And he's like, what kind? Kyle starts breakdancing.
It's not Kyle because
It is definitely a stunt double.
definitely
who does
a stunt double.
really cool
It's very
breakdancing
cool.
moves. But the assignment was not breakdancing.
No.
And he wins. And earlier in the dance, he's like, what kind of step is that? That's my accent. Great. And Kyle's like, it's my step. I'm disgusted. Anyway, he wins playing breakdance.
Yes.
And
Playing Dance
Dance Dance Revolution. For those of you who don't know. But anyway, so now they're tied. It's 5v5. And Seamus is like, well, I guess you're not going to get all the things you bet. And he's like, we didn't lose. We tied.
Yeah.
And he's like, you said if you beat me, a tie is not beating me. So like semantics, stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
Trickery, gets away with it.
Just to go back to some notable quotes from this whole sequence of them playing.
Great games.
So when they're wrestling, Kyle is doing really well at first. So Russell goes, Kyle is on the wrestling team in school. Kyle gets thrown down the next second and he goes, well, it's just junior high.
Yeah. Which, for real though, you know? It is just junior high.
And then another one during that whole thing is Seamus. I think it's when they're like throwing arrows or throwing something at like a target. Seamus goes, it's the king we had in Ireland and it's the king I'll be, the king of leprechauns. And Kyle says, yeah, well, in America, we don't believe in kings. We believe in baseball.
I can't with that line.
I love that. I love that.
Put your hand over your heart and pledge allegiance to baseball.
Yes. The all-American sport. I mean, it is. I don't know where they play baseball. So after he's like, yeah, it's a tie, so I win because there's that loophole, whatever.
Stupid stipulation of like, you said if you beat me. And I'm like,
right.
Oh my God. So he lost, essentially, the bet at least.
Yeah, so he has to give the coin back. But then Kyle wants to make another bet with him. And he has to up the ante because Seamus is like, you don't have anything left. What are you going to bet?
Right.
And he's like, I will be your slave. Forever. Which is like, okay.
Dramatic.
I know.
That's a bad deal.
That's
a very
bad
bad deal.
If Seamus loses, he will have to let O go. They would get their luck back. And Seamus would have to live in the shores of Kyle's father, which is like the shores of the Isle, like the father's land.
The shores of Erie.
Yeah. They both agree, and then they're transported again, but they're back at the high school gymnasium where the basketball game is going on.
Yeah, they're just transported there. The score is like 62-62.
Yeah.
Perfectly tied. So they're jumping in like near the end of the game.
Like 2 minutes left or something like that.
It's like, last minute. And like the coach is like, where have you been? And his voice is literally this. Like it is the most stereotypical coach voice.
Where have you been?
Yeah.
But then he's like, oh, you guys can play actually. You guys were gone for the whole fucking game.
Yeah, but I guess it's fine.
I guess you guys can play the last 2 minutes. So Kyle and Russell are on their school's teams like normal, and then Seamus and some of the men, some of his like,
his posse,
minions,
his gang,
are on the other team. And then Kyle's kind of like makes a comment to the referees, like, this guy doesn't look like he's in junior high, and the ref's like,
yeah, because when
it's
it goes
fine.
back to the basketball players, they look like junior hires, like they look like the other team. So it's some sort of magic again, where like other people don't see them. Yeah, because I didn't notice it, and then I saw he does like a shrug, and when he does a shrug, it's just like a teenager again. So I think they're like disguised for everyone else, but it is literally hinted out for like 2 seconds. It's you could blink and miss
not
it.
even
Yeah,
catch
you could
that.
blink and miss
I
it.
did not even catch that.
This movie has some issues.
Yes,
We need the exposition. We need the voiceover.
we do. Well, maybe they don't look like they're 35 years old now, but they look like they're like a voiceover to tell us exactly what we need to know.
In disguise.
They're in disguise. Of course, the basketball game is going the way you expected. Seamus is doing really well, and Kyle is not because he doesn't have his luck.
Yeah.
Mom, Dad, and Bonnie all arrive at the game, so they're there to support.
Yeah. And I love that, like, Grandpa is literally in chains on top of the basketball hoop.
I
Like,
forgot
way
about
up
that.
high. Because it's not one of those ones where it's, like, in the ground. It's one of the, like, ones from, like, a basketball court from, like, a high school where it's, like, hanging from the ceiling. So he's just, like, up there chained to it.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that other people watching can't see him because I feel like everyone would be like, what is going on? Why is there an old guy chained to the basketball hoop?
He must be invisible to everybody, because I wondered about that too.
Yeah, like he must only be visible to Kyle
and
like Russell and everyone involved, I guess. It's just, but it doesn't explain that.
Right.
There's not any way to know that.
Right. So the game is not going well for Kyle and Russell. Russell's not doing well either. O gives Russell a special coin to help him play better, and Russell's now doing really well, but we find out that coin is just a way to boost his confidence. There's
Yeah.
no special powers in it. O was just like, I just wanted to give him more confidence,
Yeah,
which
it's
I
just
love
a placebo. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's like reminds me of Glee when Brittany gets the special hairbrush from Artie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just to make her like feel better and make her feel like, she has the confidence. I feel like that's a very parent thing to do too.
It is. Yeah, it very much is. And it works. Like
Yeah.
Russell's doing really well now and he's destroying.
And his dad is proud, which I hate his dad because he should be proud regardless, but his dad is proud
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah. These parents in these movies, we have to get them in a round table and just like have a talk.
Yeah. So they start to win and Russell ends up making the winning shot.
Yeah.
And
go
they
Russell.
win the championship.
And everyone at school likes them
Woohoo!
again, I guess, because they flip a switch.
They flip a switch. And then towards the end of the game, Seamus kind of turns into like this really evil
Yeah, he's like
leprechaun
a
with, like,
scary leprechaun, like the horror movie
green
leprechauns.
eyes, like,
yeah.
terrifying. They end up talking about the deal that they made, and so that Kyle gets the power back. O is let go.
Mm-hmm.
And then Seamus is like, well, you're banishing me to my homeland. And Kyle's like, well, my dad's from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't mean like Erie, because he's like, you're saying it wrong. It's Erie, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
how you say it Irishly.
Yeah, Irish.
And he's like, no, Erie, like Lake Erie in America, like you're banished there.
Yeah.
So he like shrinks down to leprechaun size and he just like boosts off into the sky. and we
The
assume that
animation
he-
in this movie is the animation in this
It was
movie.
2001.
I know. I try to give him the benefit of
TV
the doubt, but
movie.
it just like him like it's like
Yeah.
one arm,
One
and then
hand.
it's the other arm, and then it's the head,
Yeah.
and it just looks so bad.
And here's another thing, and I'm guessing this was probably budget, but when they have this conversation post the game, everyone in the crowd is gone.
Yeah.
It goes silent, and they're
Yeah.
like, they're not really transported, but everyone's gone except for the main characters. And they have that scene and they talk. And I'm like, could they just not get the crowd to be quiet? Did they need like more time to film after the fact? It's so
Maybe.
weird. It's a weird excuse for magic use. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's gone. And
Yeah.
then like we said, he boosts off and he's banished. And then all the crowd is back and we're like resuming the game.
Yeah,
Like,
everyone's celebrating. Russell's dad is proud of him, which again, I say, be proud of your kids regardless if they're good at basketball or not.
yeah.
Does not
Basketball
matter.
isn't everything, right, Bonnie?
Yep.
Speaking of Bonnie.
Speaking of Bonnie, Bonnie gets to play basketball.
Yeah, Grandpa actually helps her out. He
Yeah.
He like talks to the dad and he's like, oh, she was at my factory because she's applying for the scholarship program, but we really like our like scholars to be well-rounded and be
Yeah.
great if she's in like extracurricular. I can say that word. And the dad's like, oh yeah, we were gonna have her do basketball, and she's like, oh really, great, awesome, because she always just wanted to play a sport.
Yeah, I don't like how she says it though. She's like, "Yeah, whatever you want, Dad." It's like, "No, whatever you want,
Stop.
Bonnie."
Yeah,
like,
I know.
but I get it. I lived in the shadow of my parents when I was growing up, and I just did what they told me to do.
I just didn't realize how like it was in these movies though. Now that we're watching them again, I'm like, oh wow, like some of these stereotypes for these parents are a bit extreme. But
Yeah.
I'm sure they exist out there. So
Right. And then O has a moment where he's like, "We're so lucky to be living in such a country where anything is possible." Another America. Woohoo!
Whoop-woo.
And then we cut to Heritage Night. Kyle's performing an Irish dance, and it's going really well. Everyone's like, "Woohoo,
Everyone's
Kyle!"
so into it, and I was like, I mean, I'm glad that they are. I feel like a bunch of middle schoolers in an assembly are not that excited.
No.
They're just going to be, even if it is something cool, they're middle schoolers and they're going to be like, whatever. Like a couple will be like, oh, this is pretty cool. But like, they'll be like, all right.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Heritage Night.
exactly.
Like, that's so 10 minutes ago.
Right.
You know?
And then we got to do the finale.
Yeah. Then Kyle is like, "Thanks all for watching." And then he starts singing seemingly out of the blue.
Yeah.
"This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the Redwood Forest."
Yes. The whole song. And everyone in the audience stands up and sings it as well. And I was like, how does everyone know the lyrics to this song? Like, it is, I know like the chorus,
Yeah.
but I do not know the entire
like that.
song.
"As I was walking Yeah, see, we don't
I
even
don't even know the
fucking
words.
know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do they all know the words in this audience? There's
Yeah.
no way. There's no way.
So of course they end the movie with a patriotic America song about, California to New York, all of that shit. And Bonnie comes on stage at one point to sing it with him.
Yeah.
And Bonnie has a really beautiful voice.
Yeah. I was like, why do they have Kyle open this freaking song? He's
It
not a
been
singer.
Bonnie.
It should have been Bonnie.
Should have been Bonnie.
Yeah. She also, it seems like she planned the whole evening. Like, I think she's in charge of the whole event.
Yeah, so she should be the one singing that song.
Anyway,
I digress. And then there's a freeze frame.
Happy freeze frame. Movie's
them.
over.
And my ending thought is, where's the dad from?
Honestly, we never get into it. It's just a running gag that,
No.
like, they're from Ohio. And it's like, okay, but actually, where are they?
But where's the dad?
Sequel.
It's a whole.
Maybe the parents are aliens. They're from Mars or something.
It's the same exact movie, but it's the dad
The
instead
dad.
of the mom. But
Kyle
seriously,
finds out he's half leprechaun and half merman.
Merman. Holy cow. Yeah, it's like when I thought about it and I was like, we never find out
It's
anything
not
about the
important.
dad.
Yeah, it's not part of the story.
So it makes me feel kind of bad for the dad, but maybe that's what he wanted. But
I mean, Smith to Johnson, pretty suspicious.
pretty suspicious. Final thoughts. This is one of the classics. I loved this movie growing up.
They show it every year around St. Patrick's Day, so we will present it to you around that same time.
Yes, we will. Go America. Proud to be an American.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in kings or queens, but I sure believe in baseball.
Absolutely.
Watch it every minute of every day.
Yes, love the game of baseball for sure. It's a fun movie. You definitely I think as adults we definitely read into a lot of things more, but as a kid it was just fun.
Yeah, there's magic. There's kids who you look up to, because when I was watching this I was like a lot younger.
Yeah,
so I was like probably elementary school, and I'm watching these like junior hires. I'm like, oh, they're so cool.
They're
you know,
so cool.
Yeah, it's the same with Raise Your Voice. We're like, oh my god, they're in high school and they're doing like special music programs. Like, whoa.
Yeah,
so
like
cool.
I wish I had a coin that I could be good at everything.
Yeah,
it makes you want to be Kyle. A lot of movies nowadays, and even back then, like there had to be some sort of couple romance in it. You can kind of hint that Kyle and Bonnie
they
like
have
each other,
crush on each other,
but they never delve into that. That's not the main part of the movie, and I appreciate
it's
that.
not about that. Yeah.
You know, not having like every movie being like a romantic movie, like we've done covered.
A lot. Yeah.
So that was nice, and so Luck of the Irish is a classic.
It's a good one.
It's good. It's goofy. It's confusing at points
It's
as
all
an adult.
over the place, and it loves America.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Yeah, and
we're gonna do a couple different things. So we'll keep doing what we're doing now, where we're reviewing movies, kind of going through and just giving our thoughts.
Yeah.
But we're also gonna try to mix things up and add a couple different flavors to the show
yeah.
that we're excited for. So keep an eye out for that.
Yep. And you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We usually upload a few things there before and after podcasts. So you can follow us there. We also have the Patreon.
Yeah.
I think it's still the $1 just to help us out with
just $1 a month.
Yeah.
It's just patreon.com/bad at watching movies. So easy to find. Pretty much you search bad at watching movies, you should start seeing us.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Mostly because the name wasn't taken.
Yeah.
But yeah, so follow us there. Are we forgetting anything? I think that was it.
I think that's it. We're excited to be recording pretty much every week at this point.
Yeah.
We're having a lot of fun doing it. We hope that everyone is enjoying it. And as always, leave us comments about movies that you want to see us cover. We're always looking for suggestions. We do have a ton of movies that we want to do too, but we like to watch new movies and do new things. Yeah, we want to see something
new. And even if it's on our list already, we might be able to bump it up and do it sooner. So
absolutely.
Let us know.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
She doesn't sweat at all.
Welcome to LA, baby.
Are you kidding me?
Are we bad at watching movies?
So we're at the basketball game. gosh, basketball came.
Basketball? We're good at being basketball.